Hello y'all, this is Alex with Response, and here we're going to break down the track Aaron by Kalkbrenner. It is probably my favorite Kalkbrenner track, and I'm just really excited to do this. Before we get started, I just want to remind you guys that if you have a little extra money and you're able to donate to Direct Relief, there's a link in the bio below. They're helping get PPE out to people who need it, so please do that if you can. So with that said, let's just go ahead and dive into this thing. So let's see what we hear right at the beginning. Cool, so right away I hear this delay guitar thing. I call it a delay because it's a guitar part, but you're going to hear like some delay being put onto it. I also hear this ding sound, which is happening at the start of every cycle of the guitar. So as you notice here, the guitar has a 2-bar cycle in the sense that every 2 bars it repeats 1, 2, 2 bars. Exactly, and then you hear this little ding. That wasn't high enough, but something like that. Bing, bing, but up an octave. So that's the ding. So that's the ding sound, which you hear here. And then you also hear this offbeat. There's like some sort of like delay on it as well. I think it's kind of skipping around, but it's more or less an offbeat hat. So yeah, so let's just listen to see what else happens. If you have headphones on, you'll notice the hat's hopping left to right a little bit. I want you to notice if you haven't already yet, the elements are getting a little more powerful as time goes on. We're getting more high end out of them, so high frequencies are appearing. And also the volume of this hat is increasing. That's why I put rising. And then, yeah, we're just getting those high frequencies from the guitar too. So just listen to how it sounds at the start of bar 5 versus at the start of bar 1. See, it's already getting more lively, so this is helping build up energy for the track. You can even see in the waveform, the wave is slowly getting bigger, so you can see things are still kind of increasing until we get to this point where the groove's going to drop in. Oh, so we did have a clap enter the game. I called it 2-4 because 1 bar, 1 measure of music is 1, 2, 3, 4. Usually claps happen on the 2 and the 4. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but basically the claps are hitting here. And yeah. Cool, so I marked this piano here. It sounds like a piano that's just playing 1 note. Something's cool about that because up until that piano note happens, we have this rhythm happening. We're building up, we're building up, we're building up. Then this piano kind of lurches in there, which in a way it like really takes your attention away from that going up and up and up we've been building and brings our attention to the piano, which is a good setup to bring us into the groove because it kind of makes us go, wait, what? We were just getting into it. But then quickly he's going to bring the groove back. So even though we have that moment where we're going, oh, what happened? He's about to bring it right back to us. So we're going to be happy again. So yeah, a lot of times making music is all about building tension and then releasing it. So this is kind of a way to build some even more tension by throwing you off and then making you feel relieved once the full groove comes in. I also made a note here. There's this little like timpani drum or some sort of drum happening with a bit of delay. He's going to use this a lot at the end of phrases. So this kind of just helps set the tone for letting the listener know, hey, some new stuff's about to happen. Cool, so now we're into the meat of the groove. So we had a kick drum enter the game. I put offbeat dry because the offbeat has changed now. Now it's a lot drier. There's not as much like delay and stuff happening on it. So listen to the offbeat here. Now listen to the offbeat here. This one's more harsh and more in your face. And then the clap change too. So in here the clap is more stereo sounding or wide sounding. Basically what that means is if you have headphones on or if you have 2 speakers, that one's doing the left speaker, one's doing the right speaker, it's going to have different things in each side. So like if you're wearing headphones right now, you can hear this clap sounding like it's in your left and sounding like it's in your right. But once we get to this clap, it sounds a lot more like you're only hearing it in the center of your listening field. If you don't really know what that means, don't worry about it. Basically, there's a different clap here. And we're having a bass line come in. And this is really common if you've been analyzing any tracks in the techno world, or just in general. We have like a nice intro, even outside the techno world. We'll have like a nice intro, and then we'll bring in bass and drums, which just like really brings the groove to fruition. So that's what we have here. We also have this bass line coming. So yeah, let's listen. I want to make a note here. Up until this point, the guitar part has been looping the exact same two bars, which has been this. But here we get a little different phrase. This is important because it kind of just does this thing where it causes our brain to go, oh, a cycle sort of just ended. And so now we're going to repeat it again. Just by bringing it up a little bit here, it makes it refreshing when we hear it again here. Basically, we just heard the loop for 16 bars, and now we're gonna just do it again. So this is like 32 bars. We're basically gonna hear the same thing. So basically, that sounds like a long time to keep hearing the same groove, but I think that we're able to do it because this guitar part's really catchy, and Kalkbrenner does a good job of milking a melody out, really letting you get the most out of it. So by the time it's done here, we're going to launch into this orange section of the track. I'm marking it orange because this track basically functions as having an A section, then going into a B section, then leaving with an A section. And this orange part's going to be really cool. This, in my opinion, the orange part is just the beauty of the track. This is such a gorgeous track, and this is where we really get to hear everything unfold. So the guitar part's going to change. We're going to get a new guitar part. We're going to have a lot of changes happening right here. So just buckle your seatbelts and get ready, because if this first section was all about building up a catchy melody and a nice groove, this next section is just going to take it so much further. Now, normally I would just start explaining right away, but I hope you've already done it. Just watch what's happening on the screen. So remember, I'm going to start here and we're going to play for a bit more of it. Just watch what's going to happen over here and see if you can figure out why this new section is changing so much. It should be pretty obvious. So hopefully you got it. So on the melodic front, oh, and by the way, everything that's pink, this symbolizes melodic things, and this color symbolizes drums, and then this is just like other extra things. I didn't touch on this other extra thing here. This is just a little reverse sound. You can hear it there. It's just a sound that occurs before the end of a cycle, just like the little timpani. It's cool, but it's not like that important. But I mean, it still has some importance. But whatever. We're talking about this section. So we're getting a lot of melodic content entering here, which just adds a new dimension to the track. So basically the guitar part had been repeating this loop from earlier, but now it's the loop of the guitar part is going to go to 4 bars instead of 2. And And I think because the guitar part is now not having as much movement as it did earlier, this allows a bit of space for other melodies to come in. I don't know if that's like always necessarily the case, but I don't know. I think that's just a way I'm going to think of this track, because we're also going to get this high guitar part. It almost doesn't sound like a guitar, and technically it might not be, but I'm pretty sure it is. You just hear these high frequencies delaying a bit off of each other, and for our purposes, we'll call it a high guitar part. So listen for that here as it enters. It's doing very much the same thing as the regular guitar, except it's pitched up higher. Now we also get, I put flute. Oh, and by the way, normally I'm pretty confident that I'm reverse engineering everything pretty close to how they would have done it. And I might be wrong, I might be right. But in this case, I didn't feel as 100% confident that I knew exactly how I did it. But, you know, there's multiple ways to skin a potato. And so I just want to have like that disclaimer here. This is like how, if I were recreating this track, how I would go about doing it. But yeah, so what I hear here, it seems to be like a little flute sound that's playing this tiny little melody that's just like do, do, do. And this is a really nice melody. So listen for that. There's something about it that for me, it's very backward looking in a good way. It's almost like nostalgic. And then you get this really gorgeous doom 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 doom, which I put as the synth, because this melody just like makes my heart fall down. It's so beautiful, something about it. And so maybe these are actually the same synth. I'm not sure, so I just split them up. That's what I mean when I say I'm not 100% sure, but whatever. You get the point. I think that's what's important, because whether or not it's the same synth, if you wanted to recreate this, you could maybe do it either way. I don't know. Whatever, who cares? So now we're just going to let this cycle play out again, and then we're going to get some pads coming in. And these pads are also just really gorgeous. They're really beautiful and like sparkly sounding, kind of angelic, and they're just going to start appearing in the background. He's going to bring the kick back in, and these pads are going to start breathing a little bit more. So we're just going to listen. I mean, really nothing too crazy is happening. They're just going to keep drilling in this whole groove, and then the pads are going to get a little stronger here. It's just really nice. Let's just listen to it. Oh, and by the way, we're using the delayed sounding offbeat from the intro. Pretty cool. So yeah, you also may have noticed when the kick came in, the bass joined in as well. As I said earlier, this is a very common technique. And yeah, this thing just grooves on. It really just starts letting these pads explore the game. And then it's going to stop again for a moment. But when it stops, it's going to bring in this, I labeled it crunchy hat because it's very just crunchy sounding. So they're basically going to take off the gas for a second, let us get kind of caught up with what's going on, and then they're going to take us deeper again. This is really beautiful. So basically we're just going into the groove we just had over here, but now we're doing it with that new crunchy hat being part of it. So it's just, that's why I said it's taking us deeper into this thing, because it's the same thing, but now they're adding that hat, and by this constant repetition and hitting us with this really beautiful synth line slash pad line and that little flute harmony, that little flute melody, and then all these little really nice synth melodies down here, the dum 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 dum, which again I didn't mention the bass is doing as well with the synth. It's just going to take us into that groove, and we're just going to keep it going. I'm not sure if the ding is still happening here. I'm actually not. You might want to double check. I tried to mark the ding pretty accurately, but to be honest, I could have spent more time on this video, so just listen for that ding. Okay, let's keep listening. So you can see the pads are getting, I'm not going to put writing here. I'm just going to keep, I'm writing bringing it because I feel like the pads are really bringing it here. Just like they were here. They're just sounding really good, but they're getting even more powerful here. So that's how, you know, they brought us back into the groove with Crunchy Hat. We just heard it for 16 bars. So now for the next 16 bars, we need to keep it interesting. So they're going to make that pad even more powerful. Cool. So now, in my opinion, especially when you listen to the track start to finish, this is such an emotional section that they're going to take a little bit of time easing us out of it so we can return to that main groove at the beginning. To do that, they're going to start dropping out a lot of elements right here, namely drums, and then they're going to just soothe us back in to the intro, and that's going to bring us back to the groove. So listen for all of that, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. It should have been like this. So isn't that cool? See, they spent these first 4 bars here just letting us still have stuff from the prior section, but by dropping out the energy a lot, by bringing out the drums, and then they bring us back to the intro. So I'm actually going to say the blues section starts back here, because now we're returned to that familiar melody we get with the intro. And this part right here is basically the intro again. So check this out. It's very similar in its construction. The only difference is we have some reverse sounds happening, like just some reversing guitar. Plus, we're not filtering it in like we did the intro. It's already kind of more full on here. And yeah, we're just going to return to a groove from that A section. And then the song's basically going to end. So we can listen for a little bit. Going gonna keep grooving, some little variations here and there, and then it's gonna kind of stop. I should have changed this to that, but there you go. And there you can hear that timpani a lot on its own, or whatever drum that is. But yeah, that's the track in a nutshell. I know I could have gone some more detail, but I think a nice way to think about this on a macro scale is that the track starts by giving us this A section, which has this really catchy guitar part. They bring us up from the intro, we groove for a bit, then we groove for a little bit more, and then it takes us into a B section. Now, once we get to the B section, we have a lot of changes. First off, we have new melodic components come in, so the guitar part changes, which is important because this catchy guitar part is what gets us to here. Like, this catchy guitar part is why this song, it's a large part of why this song has so many plays. Of course, it helps that it was in the movie, but it's so catchy, and so it really gets us to this point. And then once we're here, it just changes on us. And once it changes, it's definitely still playing a really important part. I mean, it's still this prominent guitar part, but then it's just, we're kind of creating, or Paul Kalkbrenner basically created this like beautiful tapestry of sound where now, yeah, the guitar is still there, but now we're going to let this high guitar part come in with add some like shine to the piece, coupled with these evolving pads that are just beautifully in the background. And then we're getting that little flute melody, and then we're getting just like basically the bass line from earlier was more or less just copying, like it was just moving with the guitar piece, but now the bass line is adding to this secondary melody. So basically from a melodic standpoint, this B section just becomes this like lush tapestry of all these beautiful melodic pieces. And then it's just a matter of like bringing in your drums, dropping out your drums, bringing them back in, dropping them back down, just to like bring us to little climaxes. Like this is a little climax where we have the drums going, everything going, then we get a little breather, then we come back into it with that crunchy hat and like just go deeper into the climax, which is just awesome. Yeah, so then once that ends, we slowly go back, we basically repeat the intro here, we groove, and then we end. So yeah, in some ways this is a simple construction, it's A, B, A, but in other ways it's tricky because I say it's tricky because this guitar part's so interesting, and I also want to point out it's interesting how the kick doesn't seem like it's aligned perfectly to the grid. What that means is when you hear a lot of like EDM music or like Skrillex, or just think of like deadmau5, something like that, I still like these artists a lot, but usually their drums are hitting exactly at the right time at a very like microscopic level. But if you listen for the kick drum here, it's kind of off a little bit, like it's kind of sloppy sounding. Just see if you can tell. It's not hitting exactly on every beat. It sounds like it's a little behind, or maybe the guitar is a bit behind, but the actual loop itself is a bit wonky, and that's kind of just interesting to note. But yeah, I hope y'all found some value in this. I'm a big fan of Paul Kalkbrenner, and this is one of his more popular tracks. And frankly, I like some of his deep cuts. I mean, I like a lot of his deep cuts, but this might be my favorite one because it's just so special, and the feeling I get from this B section is really amazing, and it's just deep. I don't know. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you can donate to Direct Relief, please do so. Check out our other videos and please subscribe to the channel. We could really use some subscriptions. We just passed 300 recently and I'm really excited about that. So we're trying to get to 1,000 and then to more. So please do that, and thank you so much and have a great day.